to fill my dreams. I am the traveler of both time and space. Be where I have been. Sit with elders of a gentle race. This world is seldom seen. Talk of days for which they sit and wait, when all will be revealed. Talking song from tongues of lilting grace, sounds caress my ear. Not a word I heard could I relate. Story was quite clear. Whoa. Baby, I'm flying. Yeah. Mama, there ain't no denying. Oh. Ooh, yes. I'm flying. Mama, ain't no denying, ain't no denying, yeah. All I see turns to ground. As the sun burns the ground. In my eyes, filled with sand. As I scan this wasted land, shine my in where I've
The sound of Paul Sinclair of Get the Lead Out. And they are going to be at the Capitol Center for the Arts coming up very shortly on Saturday, January the 14th. And join us from the Capitol Center for the Arts, as she does the first and third Thursdays of every month, Lynne Sabean. Lynne, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, too.
Well, I wish I could say it's great to have you here in Fort Myers, but you're in Bow and I'm in 75-degree weather right now in Fort Myers. So life isn't fair sometimes, Lynne.
Yeah. So what was it like listening to the news, hearing that there are some parts of the country where it's going to be 10 to 15 feet of snow coming soon?
I feel very good for the skiers in those areas.
Makes you feel warm, huh?
It does. Even though I mentioned in the first hour, have played in a couple of cold rinks the last 2 nights down here in Florida, but I'm sure that doesn't make anybody's heart bleed for me at all. But at any rate, Lynne, it's great to have you with us as always, and I know we'll be chatting with Paul Sinclair in just a few minutes, and that should be exciting.
We most certainly will.
He has quite a background, and again, we'll have a couple of tickets to give away as well to Get the Lead Out, the Led Zeppelin tribute band coming up Saturday, January the 14th. But I know the Capitol Center for the Arts over the holidays, Lynne, was a very, very busy place.
It was a very busy place. We had a very successful holiday season. We were very fortunate for lots of people came out for shows even while the weather was icy and cold, and hopefully we helped warm their hearts a little.
Yeah, absolutely so. I mean, some great, great shows. The Mavericks were there, Mannheim Steamroller, and I know there was one very inclement night when the Rocking Horse Crew played their great Christmas show. But from what I understand, there was a very good crowd despite that inclement weather.
There sure was.
That's great to hear because I know it was a great show and the many people that they entertained at the Spotlight Cafe at the Capitol Center for the Arts. So, in the meantime, what is ahead at the Capitol Center for the Arts that we should know about?
Well, we've got a lot of stuff in the works. We have some new shows. Right before coming over here, I got a confirmation in my email box. We haven't announced the show yet, but I can give you a little teaser that it's going to be absolutely magical.
Ah, absolutely magical.
Yeah, that's all I can tell you right now.
That's it?
That's it. Sorry. We're really gearing up for 2017. We have comedian Lenny Clark on Friday, January 13th. On the 14th, of course, as we've discussed, we have Get the Lead Out. On January 25th and 26th, we have Decades Rewind, which is the music of the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then for those people that like to really plan out ahead, we have Home Free on April 28th. That's the a cappella country band. We have the national tour of Pippin on May 11th, and then
Great
America on June 11th.
Wow, that is a blockbuster lineup. And I also saw here a couple of other shows, and is that with the Cail series,
Yeah.
Alexis Cole and Drumline Live?
Yeah, Alexis Cole is an absolutely fabulous jazz vocalist. That show is going to be on Valentine's Day, February 14th. That's
nice.
going to be in the Spotlight Cafe. We'll be making tickets available in a couple weeks or so. And then Drumline Live on March 7th. And those tickets will also be made available about 4 weeks out from the show.
Wow. Well, some great entertainment coming to the Capitol Center for the Arts, whether it's the Chubb Theater or the very intimate Spotlight Cafe. Always some great entertainment. And I know for many of these shows, tickets are going rather rapidly.
They sure are, especially Get the Lead Out. We put out a low ticket alert. We only have a couple hundred seats left for that. So people that may have been accustomed in the past to just showing up on show night and being able to get in may want to think about getting their tickets a little early this time.
I guess so. And I guess a lot of people already have. And that must be music to the ears of Paul Sinclair, who is on the line right now. And Paul, we welcome you to our curtain call segment.
Well, thank you so much. How you guys doing?
It is great to have you with us. We are doing terrific, and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, sir.
And Paul, where are you calling us from today?
From Bluebell, Pennsylvania, my home here. We're off the earlier part of the week in most cases, but we're out pretty much every week traveling around the country and even outside the country sometimes. We're doing Canada dates now, which is awesome. Here I am, and excited to come back to the Capitol Art Center.
Lead vocalist Paul Sinclair of Get the Lead Out, coming to the Capitol Center for the Arts in Concord on January the 14th. And Lynne just told us the tickets are going very rapidly, and we heard some of your music to start this hour, and there's good reason why those tickets are going rapidly. Now, Paul, Before we talk about what you're going to be bringing to the Capitol Center for the Arts on the 14th of January, you have a most unique background. Could you tell us just a little bit about it?
Well, I guess you're probably referring to my ancestry, my lineage. So I was adopted as a young, like 5 days old. I was taken home by another family, adopted. My mother put me up, and I didn't know much about my history, where I came from, until I was 28 years old. Is when I actively began searching to find my biological parents. Just more as an interest or a curiosity. I'm a curious guy by nature. Want to know where I came from. And so began the search, and the long and short of it was I found out that my mother was an American, but she was going to school in Madrid, Spain, to get her master's in Spanish. She was very enthralled with the Spanish culture, and so she'd been going on a special program from Middlebury College in Vermont to Madrid, Spain, to get this master's degree, where she met Jose Antonio Garcia Romero. And apparently
I love
that's
the way
my
to say
dad.
that. Yeah, wow. That
But the cool
sent
thing
chills
about
up and down my spine.
Awesome. Well, as I learned about this, and my father and his family, it turns out that my father was a jeweler and a painter and a sculptor. His parents, my grandparents, were pretty popular opera singers in Spain. My aunts were opera singers. My uncle, who had an opera background, became a very famous pop singer in Spain in the 1960s. And I'm told he had the very first gold record in Spain. He was on RCA Records. He was his name was Tito Mora. And I find this stuff on YouTube. I can see like my aunts and my uncles, and it's crazy. But imagine being adopted at 5 days old, not knowing where you come from, and then naturally gravitating towards the arts, and most particularly singing, being something I just couldn't shake my whole life. It's all I've ever wanted to do. And then after all my pursuits, and I'd already put out like a couple records, with my original group, and I've been, at this point at 28 years old, I've been really pursuing this as a career. And then I find out that it's all in my blood. Pretty cool, huh?
That is an amazing story. I mean, it truly is. And you just naturally, it was obviously in the genes, because you just naturally gravitated to music at a very young age, and and started singing and playing from that point on.
Yes, sir. Here I am.
Tell us when. Yeah, absolutely. So who were some of your influences when you were growing up and listening to music?
Well, I consider myself incredibly lucky. I'm 51 years old. I was born in '65. So the soundtrack of my life has been the most amazing, popular rock music, of all time. The Beatles, the Stones, the Doors, Led Zeppelin, all the great, pop or rock or whatever that came out in the 1970s, whether it was, Earth, Wind and Fire, the Bee Gees, Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, Donna Summer, Grand Funk. Everything was just so phenomenal. I loved all this music, and as a kid, you don't know any better. You think, well, this is just the way life is. Everyone grows up with, earth-shattering, mind-blowing rock music. But I learned as we got into, different decades as time went on, that that the music of that golden era in the late 60s and through the 70s, just was not going to be replicated, and there wasn't going to be, a consistent stream of bands like this coming out. So I hold that era very dear to me, and the two real standout vocalists that had my attention were Robert Plant, of course, of Zeppelin, and Steven Tyler of Aerosmith. These guys became my central focus of singing. I think because they sing so passionately, and it's aggressive but very positive music, and that's just a winning combination for me. I love to shout from the mountaintops, and this was just it just spoke to me on so many levels. So Steven Tyler and Robert Plant were really my main influences. There's I love Burton Cummings of the Guess Who. There's a guy, Ian Lloyd, who had a band called Stories. They had one big hit in the 70s, Brother Louie. I think he's a phenomenal vocalist. But it was really Steven and Robert that I always say I can either blame or credit for the mess of my life.
I'll tell you what, that's the music that is going to live on forever and ever. And your group, Get the Lead Out, is helping to keep that music alive. And you're doing it many times a year. How did Get the Lead Out form? What was the roots of Get the Lead Out?
Well, again, being that I was so obsessed, if you will, with these two vocalists and certainly this style of rock singing, that it was my pursuit from the age of 14. I decided that was when I said, I'm going to do this. And I began looking for a writing partner, as I was going through my early bands and trying to find like that, that Jimmy Page to my Robert Plant or that Joe Perry to my Steven Tyler, trying to find someone that wanted to make rock their career as much as I did, and someone who I could write songs with. And so I ended up meeting Paul Hammond, the guitarist that is in Get the Lead Out, one of the guitar players in Get the Lead Out. I met him many, many years ago, back in Reagan's first term, back in '84. And we began putting bands together and pursuing our rock and roll dreams together, writing songs, recording songs, getting into the studio for the first time, and doing all those fun things that you do as a young, aspiring rock musician. So we bonded over our love of the greats, as I mentioned previous, the stuff that we grew up with in the soundtrack of our lives. So we were so attached to the classics, and that's all we really wanted to do. So we really began putting bands together that people would say, hey, Paul, you guys kind of sound like a combination of Aerosmith and Led Zeppelin. I said, oh, that's wonderful. Exactly. Thank you. Yes. Because that's what I was shooting for. We began doing this, way back when, and continued doing that pretty much in terms of putting out original music and trying to pursue our own original project, a band we called Sinclair at the time. And we did that pretty much, until the Get the Lead Out thing came about, which came about as a result of us simply sticking with the things that we were attracted to. So we didn't put our finger to the wind and say, hey, what's the latest trend or style? Let's just, stay with the stuff that we love. So regardless of whether it was in or out of fashion, we just kept doing music and writing music and even performing a local bar gig where we would do just a few songs of Led Zeppelin sitting in with a house band on the first Sunday of every month. And what happened was, as a result of doing this once-a-month gig, in around 2003, we began doing this. And about 10 months into doing it, I got a phone call from some guys who had heard of me from doing this gig, and were putting together a Led Zeppelin project. They wanted to take to theaters and national rooms, and they're looking for a singer. And so they heard of me from this, contacted me, and that's where it all began. Now, we don't have enough time in this radio program to discuss the last 13 years, but from that moment to now, there's a lot of stuff that went on. But the key things that went on, really, were that I wanted to pursue replicating these songs as they were on record. But the guys who were putting the band together in the early stages were looking to do more of the impersonator live thing that Led Zeppelin kind of did in terms of the way they played their music, which didn't really resemble the record. So this was a big sticking point in the early days of the group. And through, just time and people, rearranging people within the group, my vision became, the way that the thing, it turned into what it's become, today. And I believe it's, how and why we're successful, because people want to hear the songs the way they know them. They want to sing along. They want to play air guitar and air drum. And that's what I wanted to give them. So that was, again, not the most popular concept at the very beginning of this thing, but it soon became, and then it formed into what this is, which is, a dream project for me. It's me and I've got 5 guys and myself, and then we have a special guest vocalist, Diana DeSantis, that sings the Battle of Evermore in every show. We can really give people a wonderful cross-section of all the songs. But that whole concept and what it's become is just, I just can't tell you how much I love doing this, because I love these songs. I'm not really doing a job. I mean, don't tell my employers that, but I love what I do, and sharing this music and keeping it alive for future generations. I didn't set out to be in a quote-unquote cover/tribute band, but I couldn't be happier that this is what it's become, and that's sort of an overview of Get the Lead Out.
Well, you do sound extremely passionate about what you do. It really comes through. We're chatting with Paul Sinclair of Get the Lead Out, coming to the Capitol Center for the Arts in downtown Concord on January 14th. Lynne?
Yeah, hi, Paul. How are you today?
Good, Lynn. How are you doing?
Good to talk to you again. I have a question for you. How would you correct, and I'm using the word correct very intentionally, somebody who says that a tribute or cover band is not creative because they're just copying somebody else?
Well, I thought a lot about that because there's very funny criticisms that we'll see at times, and I think it's just people just looking for something to say, or I don't know. It's curious, but that's a legitimate one. People say, "Hey, you're an original artist. You've written songs and so forth, and how are you creatively fulfilled by singing someone else's songs?" And I want to go back to what my origin is. Through my lineage, my ancestry, it appears that again, coming from opera singers, that's a very performance-centric sort of career. And it's funny because I've always said this about myself. I felt that writing songs, while I've always loved being creative in writing songs or drawing, painting, anything, I just love creative stuff. I love that, but more important, when it came to music, I've always loved the performance of music. I've always loved to get up and sing songs that I love. And so, much like an actor, an actor doesn't write the script, they interpret it, or they get up there and they deliver it, with passion and conviction, whatever, integrity, honesty, hopefully, and that's what I like to believe I bring to this, and that is that I just have such a love for this that I don't know that it's necessarily creatively fulfilling, to answer your question, but it's fulfilling on a level that can only be understood by people, I suppose, that really have this burning desire to get on a stage and do what I do or what we do. So to me, I've got many outlets. In fact, I still write songs, to this day. And in fact, Paul Hammond and myself with our group, we've sold more of our original CDs at a Get the Let Out show or Get the Let Out shows than we ever did when we had our own original band together. So I've wanted an audience of Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, classic rock fans in front of me my whole life, and now I've got them in front of me every week. So we found it's a great opportunity to sell our original material because people want to know what we do. But so it all sort of works together. But to answer your question, I guess there isn't a creative fulfillment from the actual performance necessarily, because I'm trying to stay as true to the original recordings as humanly possible. But again, because being an opera singer, it's in my lineage and so forth, and so that desire to get on stage and just belt and sing these songs from my heart is something that I just can't tell you how much joy and satisfaction it brings me.
Now, you've partially answered my next question by talking a little bit about honesty and integrity, but if somebody wanted to go see a tribute band for a different artist but didn't know what to look for, how would you advise them on what a good band is?
Well, I think I'm surprised how many people don't actually do research. I'm a research kind of guy. I don't care what it is. If I'm looking to change toothpaste, I'm going to be online for 10 days looking into stuff. So I would think when people are going to plunk down, $30, $40 for a ticket at a theater to see a band, a tribute band performing the music of someone else, that they would go online and see what kind of promotional materials are out there. Like if there's video where they can sample the performance and see what kind of approach a band is taking. Myself, I'm such a fan of this iconic rock music that I lived through that, to me, this is just me speaking. Many people are satisfied by different approaches, but for me, it's always been about bringing the songs to life the way that I know them. And I think it comes down to, it's very obvious and easy to understand when you realize the whole business of music has been set up to create the kind of fans that would want to attend our concerts. Because think about it. When a song comes out, let's say it was, Blue Suede Shoes from Elvis. Well, they're playing it on constant rotation on the radio. It's being played every 10 minutes somewhere around the country. Not 20 different versions, but the same version. Now, people hear this song over and over again in that exact way, the exact vocals, the exact guitar part. Then what do? They go to the store and they buy the record. And they bring it home. And then they play it over and over and over again. And then their sister borrows it. And they're blaring it out of that bedroom. Then they're playing it at keg parties. And they've heard this same exact version over and over again. So that's the version I want to deliver myself, and that's what I do with these songs. So for people that appreciate that approach to music, I would say certainly do your research and look online to see what a band's approach is. What I find most commonly negatively affects bands like ours are the fact that anybody and their mother can put together a tribute band these days, and they do. So they go out and they're like, okay, let's get the right costume and the right wig, and then we'll learn how to say these certain catchphrases that were made popular by the group. And oh yeah, we probably should learn how to play too. Well, we'll get to that later. And so unfortunately, a lot of the emphasis ends up being on the character or the being in character and impersonating, instead of focusing on the reason people want to attend in the first place, and that is how powerfully impactful that music is. So trying to give people that is for me, my whole thing. So I would suggest is, do your research, look into these bands, because there's plenty of stuff. These days, everything's on YouTube, or you can find something. So if a band isn't pushing, their promotional stuff via videos, so you can really sample the goods, it would raise a red flag to me. I would want to see what they do. If they're not proud of what they do and able to put it out there, that might be a giveaway that it might, be something you might want to consider not attending.
Now, other than
Go ahead, Lynn.
Oh,
Sorry,
sure.
go ahead.
Other than the topics of technical precision and really wanting to honor the band, what can Concord audiences expect when they come to see you on January 14th?
Well, they're going to get a wonderful cross-section of Led Zeppelin's career. I love to, when I create these set lists, and I've created every one since the first show on December the 26th of 2003, I've made every set list, and it's always been about trying to give people that concert experience that I would want, because I come to this as a fan first. I love Led Zeppelin. I love music. I love going to concerts. I love, it's a religious experience for me. I'm not a religious guy, but I can tell you, being in those the concerts, when I go to see Aerosmith, to this day, I'm like a 16-year-old kid. I'm sitting there so excited for what's going to happen and how it unfolds and the drama of it. I've learned from my heroes and how they put together concerts and all the wonderful ones that I've attended. So we try to do things in that spirit and give people, this cross-section of all the career of Zeppelin. So, we're going to come out of the gate with something that's going to be, something you're going to expect. I don't like to give away our set list because we change it at every single show, because there's so much wonderful music that Led Zeppelin put together that it would kind of be criminal not to, utilize that catalog to our best advantage by constantly keeping it interesting and giving people different shows. So, last year when we were at the Capitol Arts Center, we did 20 songs, and this year it's probably going to be at least I'd say 10 of those songs more than likely will be different than last year. So basically half the concert will be different than what people experienced if they attended on our play last time. And I love to do that, and I make that it's a rule with us. That's what we do. You're not going to come and see the same show twice. And so they can expect, again, people that attended before, they can expect pretty much half the show to be different than what they saw, a good cross-section of the Zeppelin catalog. And they're also going to, and I say this, and I got no problem letting people know this, you're going to come to a Get the Let Out concert, or I should say you're never going to come to a Get the Let Out concert and not hear certain staples. Because people say, Paul, aren't you tired of singing Stairway to Heaven? And I say, not even a little bit. Because, again, trying to do what we're doing, which is pursuing as close to perfection as possible of replicating these studio versions, it's a never-ending pursuit. We'll never get there. But the joy is constantly trying. So every time I take the stage, it's an opportunity to get the songs closer. So that's what I do, and that's what we do. And so they'll get Stairway to Heaven at every Zeppelin, Get the Let Out Zeppelin show. There's no reason to not do that. The people are waiting for it, and inevitably, and I suspect that the 14th of January is going to be no different. but virtually every show we do, I always take a poll of the audience, and I ask them in the middle of the show how many have been to a previous show, how many are attending for the first time. And it's wonderfully humbling, and I'm just filled with pride and gratitude at the fact that virtually every concert, it ends up being like 20 to 30% new people with a solid 60 to 70% of repeat business. And that's just, you can't hope for better than that in the music business doing this kind of thing. So the fact that we're constantly building and growing and people are learning about our group and coming out, I'm pinching myself on a daily basis that this is my life. So that's basically what they're going to come to see on the 14th. That is Zeppelin music played with passion and fury and some deep cuts. I always give a couple of the deeper ones because there's people that, they've heard Stairway to Heaven and Kashmir and they love it, but they'd love to hear something like Down by the Seaside or, the Wanton song or something off the beaten path. And I always like to make sure I give a couple of those to satisfy everyone. It's tough to, please all the people all the time, but we sure try.
I guess you do, and we know the tickets are going rapidly for the show on January 14th, Paul, and we certainly appreciate your time today. How many dates do you do a year?
Well, we just 2016 was the best year of our musical lives, and I think that goes for every member of the project. We on December the 31st in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, at the venue that pretty much began the career of Get the Let Out. Not pretty much, it absolutely did begin the career of Get the Let Out, a place called Penn's Peak. We played our 116th show of 2016, and that's the most performing I've ever done in a given year. And like I said, same for our group, and we loved it. We were all over the country. We, played Red Rocks in Morrison, Colorado for the third time, which is a big, proud moment for us and feather in our cap. You see people that have played at Red Rocks, everyone from the Beatles, to Jimmy Page and Robert Plant themselves, and just everybody's played there. So, doing that is another one of the highlights of our year. We're going back again this year. So, God bless Led Zeppelin. Is all I'm
saying. For sure. Paul Sinclair, Get the Let Out. January 14th, Capitol Center for the Arts. Get your tickets immediately because there are very few available. And, Paul, thank you so much for being with us today. We truly appreciate it, and we look forward to the 14th.
And thank you both so much. It's my pleasure, and I can't wait to come back up to New Hampshire and look forward to rocking out for the people. And, thank you again for your time and helping us promote our show.
Paul, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Take care. Bye-bye. Well, Lynn, great interview, and it's going to be an outstanding show. And I understand that despite the fact that tickets are going very, very rapidly, we have a couple to give away today.
We sure do.
All right. Well, let's do it right now. We'll take caller number 4 right now, 1-866-823-1077. 1-866-823-1077 is the number. And these tickets will be available at Will Call. Is that correct, Lynn, on the night of the show?
That's correct.
All right. Lynn, anything else that you would like to add before we have to wrap up this segment?
Again, if you haven't gotten your tickets for Get the Let Out, please do that. We hate to have unhappy patrons, and we'd love to have full houses.
Absolutely so. And I know you will for this. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Lynn, as always, thank you so much. Outstanding job, and we will chat with you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
All right. Lynne Sabean, Marketing Manager for Capitol Center for the Arts in downtown Concord, where Get the Let Out will appear on Saturday, January 14th, and the night before that, Friday the 13th, Lenny Clark will be there. And you know how much fun Lenny is.